Welcome to the Practice Squad Podcast, episode 14. I'm your host, Gabe. I'm here alone today, and today we're going to be breaking down episodes 5 and 6 of The Last Dance review. I'm just going to give a quick rundown of every single thing that happened during it. I might throw some opinions in there, a few extra stats in. Let's start with saying, no matter how you feel about Michael Jordan, if you think he's a terrible person, great person, horrible player, one of the best ever, you definitely need to watch this. It just gives you so much more insight that no one's ever seen before about the NBA, the history. There's so many different players just talking about different stuff. It's really just an amazing experience watching it. So no matter how you feel about Michael Jordan or Chicago Bulls, you should still definitely watch it. Let's start out, it starts out with If I Could Rule the World by Nas. They've just nailed the soundtrack for music. Later on, they had Rosa Parks playing too by Outkast. I love that type of music. I'm so glad that it's in there. It fits the era super well. So it starts with a 98 All-Star game, and you get some interview with Kobe Bryant talking about how great Michael Jordan was. You hear some on the mic action with Michael Jordan talking about Kobe. They were really close. And Jordan knew how bad Kobe wanted to be great, and he is kind of a mentor to that. And Kobe said he wouldn't have 5 rings without Michael Jordan. So then we move on to shoes, and Air Jordans are a huge deal. It's one of the biggest brands out there for shoes. And at the time, Converse kind of ruled the NBA. You had Magic, you had Larry Bird, you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar even. All of them were wearing Converse shoes. Now Jordan wanted Adidas. Adidas was at a bad spot at the time, and they couldn't give Jordan his own shoes. Converse didn't want to give him shoes either because they didn't want to put him above Magic, Bird, and Kareem. Now, Nike, Jordan initially didn't want to go, but his mom talked him into going, and the family went. And contracts at the time, expecting like $100K maybe for shoe deals, Nike offered him a $250,000 deal. Now, Nike was I won't say very small company. They were basically a track shoe company at the time. They're obviously not as globally successful as they are today. They offered him $150,000 more than what most shoe deals would have given. They're expecting $3 million in profit. They ended up selling $126 million in the first year. It is a huge success. Now, it is a nice segue. Jordan, back to 1998, last game in Madison Square Garden. It was his favorite place to play. And he wanted to wear his Air Jordans where it all started. He wanted to start there, finish there. So he did that, and he just went off, man. The Bulls won by 2 points. Jordan scored 34, and Jordan's feet were bleeding a lot, he said. And, that's just a funny thing to throw in there. Then we go to the finals. The second finals, the Bulls are trying to go back-to-back after being the Lakers the year before. Now we're going up against the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, Clyde Drexler, one of the top players in the NBA at that time for sure. There are comparisons between him and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan took offense to that. He thought he was just that much better than Clyde Drexler. And keep in mind, Clyde is one of the best shooting guards of all time. And Jordan took offense to him comparing him even to that. Jordan absolutely just ran the Blazers the entire series. In the first game, or after the first game, there was a newspaper article where Jordan shrugs off Blazers with threes. And there's a lot of discussion about, look at his field goal percentage, or 3-point percentage. He's not a 3-point shooter. Jordan could definitely knock down threes. It just wasn't his game at the time. But the Bulls won this series very handily. Then they segue into the Dream Team. Now, Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan didn't get along a lot. There were some just nasty feuds between the Bad Boy Pistons and the late 80s Chicago Bulls. But then Mike says something that's unexpected. He says IT is the second best point guard of all time behind Magic, and he thinks very highly of him. The thing is that Zeke. Isaiah Thomas thought he definitely should have been on the team. The thing is, he had problems with Jordan. He had problems with Bird because the Celtics and Pistons were having a feud in the mid-'80s. He had a problem with Scottie Pippen also, and he also had a problem with Magic Johnson, and even in the finals. So he just did not get along. There's a huge culture there. Jordan said there's a lot of camaraderie there. And honestly, at the time, I don't think Isaiah Thomas was better than John Stockton or Magic Johnson. So then there's a scrimmage story, and Magic's team is beating Jordan's team by 8 or something. He was trash-talking a lot. Jordan just kept hitting shot after shot. I mean, there's a silence after when they headed into the bus and Magic said something, and then it was just all fun. I mean, they were all very competitive. It just showed that a new era was coming, and Michael Jordan was the leader of that. Then we talk about, since we're talking about the Dream Team, the Olympics, Tony Kukoc. There was a huge war in Yugoslavia at the time, and he ended up playing for the Croatian national team. He wanted to stay a few more years in Europe, though, because he was making millions over there. He also thought he should develop his game more. And Jerry Krause the players hated Jerry Krause. I'm pretty sure Phil Jackson didn't like Jerry Krause either. He was not a great guy. And he put Scottie Pippen on hold for contract negotiations. Remember, Pippen had a 7-year, $18 million deal that they were going to sign him to. Krause put that aside just to take a look and sign Tony Kukoc. He said that Kukoc was Chicago's future. So, of course, Croatia plays the United States in an Olympic game. MJ told the team to leave Tony for Scottie and me. They destroyed him. Kukoc had 4 points. He was awful. That was one of the most famous games in Olympic history. That was just a slaughtering. So now we move into the gold medal game. And Kukoc turned it around. He had to fight to gain respect. He was a tough kid. USA still won by 32, though. And when Krause said that he liked Tony Kukoc, Jordan said, that was enough of a reason for me to hate him. So now we go to the gold medal ceremony, and Reebok sponsors them. Well, Jordan did not want to have the Reebok logo on there, so he covered it with the U.S. flag. That was kind of a big statement. It showed loyalty between him and Nike, and he ended up getting his medal because of that. The Dream Team overall changed the game globally. It paved the way for international players and culture around the entire world. When you think of a basketball player that's changed the game internationally the most, it has to be Michael Jordan. It totally made him a global figure. So then we move into politics, and now I'm not going to give my opinion about politics. There's a Senate race in North Carolina. Here's my one opinion on it. Jesse Helms, he is an extremely racist, horrible man. He is the incumbent, and he is a Republican. And then the other guy was Harvey Gantt, African-American man. Well, they wanted Jordan to support and endorse Harvey Gantt, and they think he would have won because of that. Well, Jordan didn't come out publicly and say it. He was just talking to his teammates when he said it. He said Republicans buy Nikes, too. For Jordan, I think this was well played. He didn't get any other people to hate him. He said he was a basketball player. He's not an activist. And he said he sets examples. So Jordan played it safe. Then we move into tickets, which is kind of a weird place to go. But every single night, or every single time the Bulls played anywhere, it was sold out. There was a ticket sale at the American Airlines Center. It was at 10 a.m., all the tickets were sold out by 12 p.m. Even the players in 98, I mean, usually they could get just as many tickets as they want for friends and family. I mean, they had a limit on them. Some players didn't even get any some games. And there's a scene where Jordan's handing one of his teammates a ticket. And in Atlanta, they had to play in a football stadium so fans could sit there. So there was more, and Atlanta just made a lot more money on that. So then we head into episode 6. This opens up with MJ saying everyone wants to be MJ for a day, but as a year, no one wants to. And I totally agree with him, because, I mean, this guy said it best, he leaves the hotel room and the spotlight is on. And let me just break it down for you for a game day. Jordan's in his hotel, he's just chilling out. As soon as he leaves, there's people just mobbing him at the lobby of the hotel. And onto the bus. He gets off the bus, there's pregame stuff. One thing that's super cool is 5 minutes, there's 5 minutes anytime in the pregame where he'd hang out with a terminally ill child, and that was just awesome. Then there's the game, obviously. There's a lot of pressure on him because he has to perform. Then after the game, he has like 5-10 minutes to himself before he has to talk to the media. After the media, he has to go through halls just flooded by people everywhere, super crowded. Back onto the bus, back to the hotel. People are mobbing him after the game at the hotel. It's just awful, man. There's just not a lot of privacy for Michael Jordan to have. So then we talk about gambling. And Jordan loves betting on himself. He's very competitive. He thinks he can bet on himself. With some of the Bulls players, he bet thousands of dollars at a time playing blackjack. Well, Will Perdue and John Paxton, they played $1 each. And I think that's just hilarious. I mean, it's safe, it's cool. Well, Jordan came over and he wanted to play blackjack with them. They said, Mike, it's $1 only. And he's like, yeah, but I want to see your money in my pocket. I thought that was hilarious. Then we move on to the Jordan Rules book. And the author, he just wanted to show that Michael Jordan is human. And they tried to chip away at Jordan and said he punched Will Perdue into practice, told teammates not to pass to a certain player in the clutch moments. There was friction in the organization between Jordan and Krause. And then there was a scapegoat that Horace Grant was giving out this information. Take that with a grain of salt. Who knows? But that's who Jordan kind of blamed. And they thought Grant was jealous, maybe. Anyways, within that, we move into the playoffs for the three-peat. And it's the Chicago Bulls and New York Knicks. So, Jordan had this iconic dunk on Ewing. Before that, though, Pat Riley, coach of the Knicks at the time, said, don't let him dunk on you. And, believe it or not, Michael Jordan did dunk on a lot of players of the New York Knicks. Just an amazing dunk on Patrick Ewing, too. That's so iconic. The Knicks played a similar style to the Detroit Pistons did. They're a super physical team, blue-chip players. And Patrick Ewing said it wasn't a foul until someone drew blood. So officiating at this time, still not safe, really. And one thing I want to point out is John Starks in this series. There's a bunch of clips on it in the documentary. John Starks is not a big guy. And I see him in almost every single scuffle against the Bulls. He's always in some guy's face. And heading into game 2, the Knicks won game 1, John Starks dunked on Michael Jordan. And he's just this tiny little guy who's just playing with so much fire. So the Knicks are up 2-0. So Jordan's like, okay, I'm going to bring some family and friends, go down to Atlantic City for a night and gamble. He's back around 12:30 or 1. He just wanted to get his mind clear, and I don't blame the guy for that. The media obviously ripped on him for that. Oh, Jordan has a gambling problem. There's an instance where he gave this guy $57,000. I think he was a criminal and gambling money. But he never bet on any basketball games, and the NBA didn't have an issue with it. I think David Stern said $10 to Michael, $10,000 to Michael is like $10 to him. I don't know if it was Stern, it was somebody. I should have looked it up, I'm sorry. The only thing that it damaged, really, for Michael Jordan was his reputation and kind of as a role model. So heading into Game 3, this was the response. And the Bulls won 103-83. The next game, Jordan scored 40 points in a Game 4 win. And then we move on to at Game 3, the Bulls kind of had the momentum. And there's a player on the Knicks, he's a big man, Charles Smith. He got stuffed like 20 times. It was one of the best defensive plays ever. I just can't believe how many times that dude misses and gets blocked. Pippen's on him, Jordan's on him. It's just great defensive effort. I think is a little embarrassing for Smith. I mean, it's so funny to watch these things, and that's why I think everybody should watch it, because it just gives you so much more insight on NBA history. And of course, the Bulls win 4 straight, and they win in 6. So then the Bulls go, I think it's a week before the 98 playoffs start. The Bulls go golfing. It's awesome. I mean, they're all just so funny. And then you move on to the 93 finals. It's the Phoenix Suns versus the Chicago Bulls. The Phoenix Suns had the best record, and they had a man named Charles Barkley, maybe the most underrated player in NBA history. And he won MVP that year. And Jordan thought he should have won MVP, so he's like, okay, you can have MVP. I'll take the finals trophy. So then there's this guy, Dan Arnold, that Jerry Krause liked. And Michael Jordan just, he went to town on him. I take back the Kukoc thing where Jordan says that was enough for me, saying that Krause loved him, so that was enough for Jordan to just embarrass him. It was actually Dan Arnold. I'm so sorry. The Bulls won Game 1. So Game 2, Charles Barkley said he played one of his best games ever, and Michael Jordan outplayed him. And then Barkley also said that was one of the few times where he thought that there was a better basketball player than him. And that's just crazy to admit, man. I mean, Jordan was just there's so much just in awe around him. Even these legends, Hall of Famers, some of the greatest basketball players ever. So Game 3, they go into triple overtime and the Bulls lose. Charles Barkley played an outstanding game. Jordan carried Game 4 and they're up 3-1. Then in Game 5, the Bulls lost by 10 in Game 5. And Charles Barkley, after the game, said, take that shit off the windows. Y'all don't need it tonight, because we're just a bunch of three-peat stuff in the city of Chicago. So after that game, it's 3-2. They're heading to Phoenix. Jordan spoke with the team and said he's only packing one suit, saying that they're going to win this game. And MJ just stole the show. He had 33 points in Game 6, and James Paxson hit an amazing game-winning 3. It was just, you'd think that Michael Jordan would hit that clutch 3. James Paxton stole the show, man. The Bulls won by 1 point. Charles Barkley said losing to Michael, there is no shame in that. MJ said he was exhausted mentally and physically after that series. Man, I think I've said John, Jim, and James Paxson this episode. I'm so sorry, John Paxson. He said that there was more relief in that locker room than joy. And MJ went out of a spotlight that kind of foreshadows to when he takes an absence, which will probably be in the next episode. And then the ending of it, the 1997-1998 playoff start. The last dance is here. The last time the Chicago Bulls, this dynasty, plays in the playoffs. They play against the 8th-seeded Brooklyn Nets with John Calipari as the head coach. So, hey, who knew? And that's where it ends. So that's where I'm going to end the podcast right here. Go show some love by liking, subscribing, and commenting. I'm Gabe, and I'll see everyone later. You gun down, lashing out at me because I'm up now.